A few weeks ago, I took a drive through the backroads of southern Ohio. I'm Mark, a 34-year-old freelance photographer. I thought the quiet there was peaceful. I was searching for scenic landscapes for a new documentary. But what ended up happening was anything but peaceful. One evening, I pulled up to this old abandoned farm. It looked perfect for a picture. I set up my camera, feeling the stillness around me. The air was thick, and the fading light cast shadows over the barn. I was about to click the shutter when I heard laughter. It was coming from the field next to me. I glanced over and saw two kids playing. They seemed happy, running around and giggling. Still, something about it felt off. I blinked, trying to shake off the weirdness. When I walked closer, they vanished, just like that. One moment there were kids playing, and the next, nothing. I could still hear the laughter echoing in my ears. My heart raced. I stood frozen, unsure of what to do. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me, but the sound of laughter continued to burrow into my gut. Days later, things got stranger. I noticed a vintage car behind me while I drove down winding roads. It was an old coupe, always staying just out of sight. I could never clearly see it in my rearview mirror. Whenever I glanced back, it would vanish. I thought I was imagining it, but that sense of being watched grew stronger. One afternoon, I pulled off the road to snap some pictures of the trees. The woods felt oddly silent, almost too silent. I took a few shots, and then I noticed something moving between the trees. Shadows zipped around, darting fast and just out of sight. I felt cold. My breath hitched. It was like something was stalking me. Was it just my mind, or was there really something out there? At another spot, it happened again. I heard whispers. They weren't clear, but I knew I wasn't alone. I spun around, and there was no one, just me and the trees. The whispers felt personal. I shook my head, trying to convince myself it was just the wind, but I felt a heavy weight on my chest. Then one night it escalated. I parked my car to capture the sunset. I got lost in the colors of the sky when I heard someone call my name. It was just a soft whisper. I turned around, looking for anyone. Nothing. My heart raced again. I grabbed my camera, feeling like something was right behind me. That's when it happened. I felt eyes staring at me from the darkness. I turned and I froze. The landscape was empty now, but the feeling of being watched was suffocating. Then I heard it, clear as day. "Why don't you stay?" The voice was chilling. I whipped around, but no one was there. Just shadows and silence. I didn't know what to do. I still don't. Those backroads haunt me. I keep driving them, hoping to find answers or the comfort of sanity. But the unsettling truth is, I fear I've uncovered something better left alone. The next morning, I tried to shake off the fears of the night before. I told myself it was just my imagination. But as soon as I got back in my car, an unease settled in. I decided to head back to the abandoned farm. Maybe I'd overlooked something. The sun was high, and the day felt deceptively ordinary. The drive felt longer than usual. Each bend in the road stretched out as if time itself was playing a cruel trick. As I reached the farm again, the air felt thicker, not lighter. I stepped out, armed with my camera and shaky confidence. The barn still loomed, filled with broken wood and whispers of the past. My footfalls crunched on the gravel, echoing in the silence. I scanned for anything I might have missed, a clue, a sign that would explain the odd occurrences. Then, near the barn's entrance, I saw it. A small red ball lay half buried in the dirt, the kind kids play with. I felt a chill run down my spine. It was the same one I thought I'd seen in the field with the kids. I didn't want to touch it, but curiosity got the better of me. When I picked it up, a strange compulsion washed over me. I felt the laughter return, echoing through my mind. I dropped the ball. It rolled away slightly before stopping. I turned and looked toward the woods, where the shadows danced behind the trees. My heart raced. I suddenly feared the silence more than anything else. What if those whispers came back? I closed my eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply. Ancient wood and freshly disturbed earth filled my lungs. When I opened them again, I felt a presence behind me. I spun around and caught a glimpse of the vintage car. It was parked just beyond the barn, half hidden by tall grass. Had it always been there? My pulse quickened. I had to know if anyone was inside. I approached cautiously, my heart pounding in my ears. As I drew closer, I could see the driver's seat empty. The back seat was dark, nothing more than shadows piled up. But something glinted under the seat. I hesitated. Should I lean in to look? The laughter echoed again. My gut twisted, but I took a step closer. I crouched down and peered inside. That's when I saw it. A picture frame lying face down. My hand reached for it, trembling. I flipped it over. It was a photo of the two kids I had seen playing, but this time their smiles felt wrong. Their eyes seemed to bore into me, almost hungry. I dropped it back down and staggered back, searching my mind for sense. I felt the air shift behind me. The whispers turned into distinct words. "Stay with us." I turned and took off running, adrenaline burning in my veins. I didn't dare look back. All I wanted was to get away. Something deep inside me knew that whatever was in those woods wanted more than just my attention. As I sped away, I caught one last glimpse of the farmhouse in my rearview mirror. It seemed to disappear into mist. The feeling of dread clung to me. There was no doubt. The back roads were no longer just roads. They were a trap, and I was caught in it. What was happening to me? I felt the question ripple through my thoughts as I drove faster, desperate for escape. The drive home felt surreal. The winding road blurred past me, almost as if I was moving through a dream. I couldn't shake the images of the kids and their strange smiles from my mind. What did it all mean? I pulled into my driveway, the familiar landscape doing little to calm my racing heart. The sunlight was harsh, cutting through the clouds, yet I felt a chill, as if the shadows were still following me. I rushed inside, locking the door behind me. By evening, I was restless. I paced back and forth, trying to piece together the chaos in my mind. I grabbed my phone and tried to search online for any history about the farm, hoping to find some explanation for what I had encountered. But nothing came up. No reports, no news, not even a whisper. Frustration bubbled beneath the surface. I thought again about the kids. Who were they? Why were they there? And what was the connection to the photo? I needed answers, but I was terrified of what I might find. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, breaking my thoughts. It was a text from my friend Lisa. "Hey, you okay? I heard you were at that old farm place. Let's chat." That was odd. How did she know? I typed a quick response, asking how she found out. Before she replied, I heard a faint sound outside. It was like laughter again, distant but unmistakable. My heart sank. I moved to the window and peered out. The grass was still and empty. Had it only been in my mind? I glanced back at my phone. Lisa had texted back. "A friend of a friend mentioned something about that place. Said it's haunted. You should stay away." Haunted. The word hung in the air. I felt the ground shift beneath me. I didn't want to believe it, but everything I had experienced echoed back to that word. I needed to talk to her, to gather more information. But would it only dig me deeper into this nightmare? Biting my lip, I decided to call her. My fingers trembled as I held the phone to my ear, and after a few rings, she picked up. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked. "I don't know, Lisa. I went back to the farm, and something isn't right," I confessed. "There was laughter, and I found a photo of those kids." "What kids?" she asked, confusion creeping into her voice. "The ones I saw before. They were playing in the field, but they weren't normal. Their faces—" My voice trailed off. I didn't want to tell her everything just yet. "Did you see anything else?" she pressed. "Just the car and that picture frame," I said, feeling my heart race again. "But I don't understand. I keep hearing things." "I'll come by. We can figure this out together," she offered, her tone firm. Before I could respond, the laughter returned. It was closer now, sending a jolt of ice through my veins. "Lisa, wait," I said, but static filled the line. Then everything went dark. My phone died, and the laughter grew louder, wrapping around me like a heavy fog. My thoughts raced as I stumbled back from the window, a new fear setting in. I didn't know if I was still alone. The silence that followed was oppressive. My heart pounded in my chest, filling the void where Lisa's voice had been. I felt trapped in my own home, the shadows lurking in every corner. The laughter persisted, echoing through the walls. It felt wrong, taunting me. I grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer, hoping it would offer some reassurance. The beam cut through the darkness, creating a small, artificial bubble of safety as I stepped into the hallway. I moved cautiously, listening intently. The laughter echoed again, this time accompanied by a soft thud. It sounded like it came from the living room. I held my breath, my fingers tightening around the flashlight as I approached the door. My mind raced with possibilities. Was it the kids? Some trick of the light? Or was someone in my house? Peeking around the corner, I saw my couch, empty. But then my heart stopped. The kids from the farm flashed across my mind. Their faces twisted and eerie, their laughter too bright for their unsettling presence. I shuddered. I had to be imagining things. I flicked the flashlight again, scanning the room. My breath caught when I noticed something on the ground. I dropped to my knees, my hand trembling as I reached for it. It was a small, faded key, out of place in my living room. I didn't recognize it. Where had it come from? As I stared at it, the laughter intensified, ringing clearer and louder, as if it was right outside my door. I scrambled to my feet, heart racing anew. I had to know if anyone was truly out there, or if my mind was playing tricks on me. I dashed to the front door, peering out through the peephole. Nothing stirred in the yard. Yet, just as I turned to retreat back inside, I caught a glimpse of movement in the distance. The silhouette of a child standing at the edge of my property. I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs as I blinked, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The figure was small, dark, and unmoving. The laughter faded into an eerie silence. I felt the air change, heavy with something I couldn't name. Before I could process it, the figure raised its hand, waving slowly. My instincts screamed to shut the door, close the curtains, and hide. Yet a strange compulsion pulled me closer to the void outside. I stepped back from the door and grabbed my phone. I needed to call Lisa again, urge her to hurry, but I knew it was dead. My only option was to confront whatever was out there. I took a deep breath, steeling myself as I turned the doorknob. The instant I opened the door, the laughter burst forth again, now mixed with soft, childlike giggles. The figure was closer, a small shape outlined by the fading light. I was about to speak when another sound cut through, a whisper that twisted the air around me. "Come, play with us," it said, sweet yet chilling. Just then, the door slammed shut behind me. I whipped around, confusion flooding my senses. My heart sank. I was no longer in control. Then I heard footsteps behind me. The footsteps were soft, almost muffled against the hardwood floor. I turned slowly, flashlight in hand, the beam dancing nervously as I scanned the room. My mind raced to parse the meaning. Was someone in my house? The thought was suffocating. I had to stay calm. I edged back toward the living room, aware of every creak the floor made under my weight. It felt like the air had thickened, becoming charged with something sinister. I fought the urge to call out, to demand to know who was there. Instead, I listened, straining to hear beyond the rhythmic pounding of my heart. "Help!" A voice drifted through the stillness, barely above a whisper. It was a child's voice. I froze, the flashlight beam shaking slightly. "Help us!" I took a cautious step forward, the light flickering across the shadows. The outlines of my furniture loomed ominously. "Who's there?" I called, my voice firmer than I felt. There was no answer, just silence, swallowing me whole. Then, suddenly, I noticed something moving beneath the coffee table. I knelt down, the key still clutched tightly in my hand. The flashlight beam illuminated a small, battered doll. It was missing an eye, its clothes tattered and stained. The laughter returned, echoing, wrapping around me like a vine. "Play with us," they chorused, now multiple voices rising around me. The air grew colder, wrapping me in a shiver that ran down my spine. I threw the doll across the room, as if the act could dispel whatever dark magic had settled in my home. The laughter faltered, then rose to a pitch that felt almost mocking. I could hear it within the walls, behind the furniture, swirling in the very air. "Help us," it beckoned again, more insistent now. "We just want to play." "No!" I shouted, my voice stronger now. "I don't want to play!" The laughter fell silent, but a weight pressed down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I stumbled to my feet, holding the flashlight out in front of me like a sword. My heart raced as I backed toward the door, feeling every inch of the room close in on me. Just as I reached for the handle, the walls seemed to hum, vibrating in a way that was almost alive. Then everything went dark. The flashlight flickered and died, plunging me into a suffocating abyss. I cursed under my breath, panic rising. My mind clawed for a way out, but all I could hear were those disembodied giggles creeping into my ears. I fumbled for the door, my fingers trembling against the cold metal. But before I could turn the knob, a soft whisper brushed my ear. "Come find us." I felt a breath on my neck. In that moment, the door swung open. A blink of light pierced through, but it brought little comfort. I hesitated at the threshold. A part of me wanted to escape, yet another part tethered me to the shadows. This time, the footsteps returned, only they were not behind me anymore. They were in front, pacing toward the door with purpose. I stepped back, dread coiling in my stomach. Someone, or something, was about to come in. I braced myself against the doorframe, my heart racing in time with the soft footfalls drawing nearer. The silhouette that stepped into the light was not what I expected. It was small, barely taller than a toddler, with tousled hair and wide, dark eyes that seemed to absorb the glow around them. "Help us," it said again, the voice far too innocent for the chill it sent down my spine. My instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. Fear glued my feet to the floor. "What do you want?" I managed to choke out. "Play with us." The figure stepped closer, and I saw the doll, a familiar tattered thing clutched tightly in its arms. My stomach turned. There had to be a way to break whatever spell this was. "Who are you?" I asked, though I feared the answer. The child's expression remained unchanged. "We just want to play, please." It was like a weight pressed down on me.
Just as I thought I'd find my voice again, the air around me shifted. Shadows twisted, and I could hear whispers intensifying, swirling around the room like a storm. They weren't just laughing anymore, they were talking. "Let's go," one of them said, the voice grating against my ears. Suddenly, the child's face darkened, and the light behind it flickered again before dimming entirely. Panic ignited in me as I felt the cold fingers of dread latch onto my spine. "Get back!" I shouted. My voice reverberated through the darkness, but it was swallowed by the cacophony of laughter that filled the air. The child lunged for me, and instinct kicked in. I turned and bolted out of the door, racing down the hallway. I didn't look back. I couldn't. My only aim was to get out. I stumbled into the living room and flicked on a lamp. The soft glow filled the space, but barely pierced the shadows that still lingered. Then I saw it, or them. The dim light revealed several more figures lined up against the walls. Just kids, their faces pale and gaunt, each clutching their own ragged dolls. My breath hitched as I realized they were staring at me, their eyes hollow and pleading. "Join us," they chorused softly, voices melding into one, a haunting melody of need and desperation. I shook my head wildly, fighting the urge to scream. "No!" I yelled, but they only took a step forward. The air in the room thickened, crackling with tension. Just before they could reach me, I spotted the kitchen door. My feet moved on instinct again, and I darted through it. I slammed the door behind me and leaned against it. Then I felt it, a pounding against the wood, a soft thud echoing in my chest. The laughter had returned, bouncing off the walls. "Don't leave us." The whisper was right there, just on the other side of the door. Another bang, harder this time, and I knew I had only moments before they broke through.
My hands trembling, I looked for something, anything that could help me. In that frantic search, my eyes landed on a knife block. I raced to it, yanked one of the knives free, and gripped it tightly. The space felt suffocating, and I turned back toward the door, panic rippling through me again. Just when I thought I could breathe, something shattered in the living room, and I knew I had to leave. But where? As I dashed back to the hallway, I tripped over something soft. I looked down, and my throat went dry. There lay the doll again, that same tattered thing, its one eye staring blankly at me. That's when I knew I wasn't alone. I froze. The doll seemed to call to me, its single eye glinting in the faint light from the kitchen. I had to push it away, to resist whatever hold it had. I bent down, my heart racing, and reached for it. As my fingers brushed against the worn fabric, a sudden chill swept over me. The air turned electric, and the whispering voices grew louder, overlapping in a disorienting swirl. "Play," they urged. "Please play with us." I pulled my hand back as if burned and scrambled to my feet. The sound of pounding intensified, echoing through the house like a warning. I had to find a way out, and fast. I bolted toward the back door, each step echoing in the cramped space. Outside, the night air felt like a balm against my skin. But the sensation was short-lived. Shadows loomed just beyond the porch light, and I hesitated. The laughter faded, but was replaced by an unsettling silence, thick with anticipation. I scanned my surroundings, eyes darting for any way to escape. The stars hung above like watchful eyes, cold and indifferent. Then the darkness shifted again, and I caught movement in my peripheral vision. A figure stepped from the trees, small and indistinct. I felt my heart drop. It was one of them, a child, draped in a tattered nightgown, its doll hanging limply from a thin arm. "Come play with us," it said, voice light and eerie, like a gossamer thread pulling me in. "No," I yelled,
and instinctively stepped back, slamming into the doorframe. Panic surged again. I couldn't let them get to me, not like this. The backyard stretched behind me, a dark expanse. I turned and sprinted, not daring to look back. The wild grass whipped at my legs as I ran toward the fence line. My mind raced. What were they? Just innocent kids, or something much worse? I reached the fence just as I heard the soft laughter rise again, surrounding me, taunting me. I fumbled with the latch, my fingers slick and shaky. I needed to think. I needed a plan. Finally, the latch clicked, and I swung the gate open. I stumbled into the neighboring yard, hoping my ginger movements wouldn't draw any more attention. Then I saw it. In the middle of the yard, bathed in the dim glow of the moon, lay a broken swing set. But that wasn't what drew me in. Something bright shimmered beneath the swings, catching my eye.
Curiosity piqued against the persistent terror that gripped me. I cautiously approached, heart racing wildly. That shimmer was too alluring to ignore. As I knelt to get a better look, I gasped. It was another doll, different from the others. This one was pristine, almost new, with a soft face and glossy hair. But there was something off about it. It didn't seem right. Something in my gut twisted. I reached for it, and as my fingers touched the cool fabric, a sharp pain shot through my hand. I jerked back. The laughter returned, a cacophony that echoed in my ears, cold and mocking. And then the air shifted. "Join us," came a chorus of whispers. Only this time there were more voices at play. A low growl, barely audible, contrasted sharply with the childlike sounds. I scrambled to my feet, heart pounding as the shadows shifted and expanded in the moonlight. I had to run, but as I turned, it became clear. I wasn't just being chased. They were circling me. Fear took hold as I realized the truth. I thought I was being hunted, but perhaps I was already trapped. I took off running, a primal instinct kicking in. The laughter grew louder, but I couldn't let it draw me back. I raced toward the edge of the yard, my breath coming in frantic bursts. I needed to break free from whatever this was. As I neared the fence on the opposite side, I spotted a small shed hidden behind the swings. Its door swung slightly, creaking as if inviting me. It was a chance. I veered left, determined to hide. I ducked inside, shutting the door quietly behind me. The darkness wrapped around me like a heavy blanket. I leaned against the wall, heart pounding in my ears. I closed my eyes, trying to regain my breath. But then I heard it. A soft tapping against the shed door, a rhythmic patter that felt too deliberate. My skin crawled. They had found me. "Open up," a voice chimed. It was sweet, but edged with something sinister. "We just want to play." I pressed my back against the wall, trying to shrink into the shadows. I couldn't let them in. Not now. The sounds didn't stop. They were joined by more whispers, more laughter. The ground beneath me felt alive, as though the very earth wanted to join in their chorus. Suddenly, there was a loud bang on the door, rattling it on its hinges. I nearly jumped out of my skin. "You can't hide forever," the voice sang out, taunting. This was a game to them. I looked around for an escape. The shed was small and cramped, with a window high up on the far wall. Climbing to it seemed like my only option. I spotted a stack of old crates nearby and quickly scrambled up, fear driving my movements. As I reached for the window, my fingers grazed the glass, and I felt a brush of cold air. It felt wrong, too whispery, too hasty. I peered out, and my heart dropped. The figures were still circling, their shadows merging into one another. They were watching me, eyes glinting with mischief. I hadn't seen where they had come from, but now there were more than before, maybe a dozen children, all staring in unison. I pushed the window harder. It was stuck, refusing to budge. No, no, no! Panic surged again. I was trapped inside this coffin of a shed. Then I heard it, a soft tapping at the opposite side of the door. Not the kind from before. This was more hesitant, almost playful. I turned slowly, dread creeping over me. "Let's play," it whispered sweetly from the other side. "Go away," I shouted, voice cracking. That only seemed to increase their enthusiasm. They giggled, a sound that sent ice through my veins. The door rattled again, this time with more intensity. "Open up! We want to see you!" I scrambled back, desperate. My eyes darted around for anything, a tool, something that could help. And that's when I saw it, lying in the corner where shadows blended. A rusty old hammer. I lunged for it, grip tight and ready. If they wanted to come in, I would make sure they wouldn't take me without a fight. But as I turned back to the door, everything went silent. I held my breath, waiting. And then came the whispers, even closer now. "Let's play." What were they? And why did they want me? The fear twisted into confusion and determination. I needed to face whatever this was. Just as I steadied myself, the door creaked open a crack. A sliver of moonlight spilled into the shed, illuminating their faces. As I tightened my grip on the hammer, I fought against the rising tide of terror. This was it. I was about to confront whatever lay on the other side. I took a deep breath, ready to face whatever uncertainty awaited me. The door pushed open slowly, revealing the figures outside. Their faces were so pale, almost ghostly. I squinted, trying to make sense of them. Each one looked like a child, but their eyes, dark and hollow, seemed to pull at something deep within me. "Come out to play," one of them declared, voice dripping with sugary sweetness. They looked innocent, but everything about them screamed wrong. I could see their mouths stretching into unnatural grins, almost as if they enjoyed the fear radiating from me. I stepped back, heart racing. "No, I'm not playing," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. The hammer felt heavy in my hand, but I couldn't just stand there. I had to do something. "Why not?" another voice chimed in. "It's so much fun." They all giggled again, in unison, sending shivers down my spine. It was eerie and contagious, making me feel dizzy. "Come on, let's just see you," one of them said, starting to creep through the door. I lifted the hammer. "Stay back!" I shouted, desperation clawing at my throat. They paused. For a moment, uncertainty flickered in their expression. Then, without warning, they lunged forward, eyes sparkling with gleeful chaos. I swung the hammer, panic fueling my movements. I missed, and the energy from my swing sent me off balance. They shrieked louder, and I stumbled backward in fear. The shed felt smaller, closing in around me as I realized there was nowhere to escape. "Don't you want to play?" they chorused, their voices blending into a jarring melody. I felt trapped, as if their words were tangling around me, weaving a spell of confusion. Suddenly, a loud crash erupted outside, and the laughter turned into sharp, frantic whispers. I didn't have time to react. The door flew wide open, the laughter fading into the night. I pressed myself against the wall, holding the hammer tightly, confused by the sudden change. Where had they gone? I slowly edged toward the door, peeking out. The moonlight illuminated the yard, but the children were gone. Only shadows remained, flickering in the dim light. I could hardly breathe. Had they left? Or were they hiding, waiting for me to step outside?
That's when I caught a glimpse of something shiny on the ground where the children had stood. My heart skipped a beat. It was a small red ball, an odd sight among the darkness, as if it had been left behind intentionally. I hesitated, torn between curiosity and fear. What if picking it up brought them back? But if I didn't find out what they wanted, would I ever be free? I took a tentative step forward, the hammer still gripped tightly in the other hand. Then, everything went dark. The shed's door slammed shut behind me, cutting off my only escape, and the whispering began again, echoing in the shadows. Let's play. I felt the ground shift beneath me, a wave of dread washing over me. I was not alone anymore. The game had only just begun. The walls felt like they were closing in as I pushed my back against the shed, fingers trembling on the hammer's handle. The whispers grew louder, a chaotic cacophony swirling around me, and I fought to breathe through the terror that constricted my throat. "Please, just let me go," I shouted, the desperation clawing from deep within. "Play, play." The chorus of childlike voices swirled around me, teasing, beckoning me. I felt the air grow heavier, saturated with something dark and suffocating. Then, amidst the shadows, the door creaked open with a loud groan, and light spilled inside. Those hollow-eyed children stood just beyond, their faces twisted into grins that didn't belong on human faces. "Come out to play," the first one said, and the others echoed in unison, creating an unsettling harmony that made my skin crawl. "No!" I yelled, swinging my hammer wildly, desperate to keep them at bay. "Get away from me!" But my voice felt small against their collective laughter, and I staggered back, adrenaline rushing through my veins. As I clutched the hammer, I squeezed my eyes shut for a moment, drowning in fear. Maybe if I focused, I could find a way out. Something inside me insisted that I had to fight. I couldn't let them take me. With a sudden surge of courage, I charged them, swinging the makeshift weapon as I pushed through the door. The children scattered, their laughter ringing like chimes in the wind. I bolted into the open air, scanning my surroundings, propelled forward by a primal sense of survival. Beyond the swing set, I noticed a patch of trees, their silhouettes dark and inviting against the starry sky. I sprinted towards them, my heart pounding in my chest, as I heard footsteps behind me, their whispers urging me on, "Stay with us." The ground was uneven as I plunged into the trees, branches clawing at my arms, and the laughter dimmed behind me. I could hear shuffling, an echo of their small footsteps chasing me. Every instinct told me to keep going, to run deeper into the woods where the shadows might shield me from their grasp. But as I ran, doubt crept in. What if there was no escape? What if they were part of the forest now, an extension of the darkness? I could barely fathom the weight of my fear as I stumbled, crashing through underbrush, gasping for breath. Then I reached an old clearing. The moon hung high, casting a silver glow over a circle of ancient trees, their gnarled roots twisting into the earth like veins. My heart beat fast as I turned around, certain they would emerge at any moment. Moments passed, filled only with the sound of my uneven breathing and the rustling of leaves in the light breeze. I scanned the edges of the clearing, nothing but silence. The laughter had stopped. Had I lost them? I crouched low, feeling my heart race alongside the shadows looming above. That's when I saw it, a flicker, a small figure standing just beyond the tree line, watching me. My breath caught in my throat. I was filled with a sudden urge to flee again, but something held me in place, curiosity mingled with dread. "Play?" a voice whispered softly, piercing the quiet. It belonged to one of the children, their face eerily illuminated in the moonlight. "Leave me alone!" I shouted, gripping the hammer tightly, feeling the tremor in my hands grow stronger. My heart thundered. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but the fear of the unknown roots kept me nailed to the ground. Then, in a flash, the child smiled, a terrible hollow grin, before darting back into the trees. I turned, a surge of panic fueling my next move. Maybe they wanted me to follow, to play their game. But I wouldn't be baited again. I couldn't afford to lose myself in their world. I sprinted again, the darkness closing in once more as I dashed deeper into the woods. Branches lashed at my skin as I pushed through until I reached the edge of a small cliff overlooking the valley below. There, the moonlight spread a silvery sheen over the landscape, offering a fleeting glimpse of tranquility. But my reprieve was short-lived. The voices returned, wrapping around me like a cold fog, coaxing, "Play with us. You can stay." I glanced back, realizing the figures were creeping back towards me, their eyes glowing in the dark like wild animals. Suddenly, fear urged my feet to the precipice. A part of me wanted to leap, plunging into the unknown, rather than confront whatever nightmarish game they had planned. And then I saw it, a path winding down the rocky edge of the cliff. It was a gamble, and my heart thudded as I made my choice. I cut towards the path, narrowly avoiding the grasping shadows hungry for my despair. As I climbed down, the laughter faded into a haunting echo, replaced by a desperate urgency. I didn't know what awaited me at the bottom, but I knew if I stayed, I'd be swallowed by the night. I reached the bottom, breathless but alive. The figures were somewhere above, lurking in the shadows of the trees, but they hadn't followed. I turned back, catching my breath, a strange peace washing over me. Maybe I would escape this sinister game. Maybe the woods would release me. But I could still feel their eyes on me, and in that moment a shiver slipped down my spine. As I trudged forward, uncertain but resolute, I understood that I might not ever know what truly happened back there, in the heart of the forest. I would carry the dark laughter with me like an echo that never quite faded away, a shadow of childhood that held secrets I would never unravel.